Well guys, the time's come to get rid of the Himalayan. I'm off to the dealership to pick up the Super Meteor. It's gone through all its checks, it's been registered, and got a call today to say it was ready to pick up. So a bit of a bittersweet day really, because in my mind the Himalayan's a great little bike. I really can't fault it, apart from its top end speed if you're going to go on highways and that, but generally for an adventure bike it's so easy to use, it's so nice to ride. So it's I'm a bit sad dobbing it in. Like you say, we've got the V-twin adventure bike that we're using most of the time. It's just that a lot of you people want to jump on a bike and go flying around the bends at super breakneck speed and all the rest of it, and I used to be like that. I used to ride my bike and get my knee down on all the bends on my super sports, but to be honest, the journey, I didn't really notice anything on the journey apart from the thrill of riding a bike. What I find now is that I go out to have the adventure of the ride, to look at the scenery, to embrace my surroundings, to really get empowered on nature and all the rest of it. And the good thing about the Himalayan is you don't really have to think much about riding it. It's such an easy bike to ride. You can, and the weight wise, it's quite a heavy bike, but it's so easy to handle. It's over 200 kilos, but it's such a nice bike to ride around on. So I'm a bit sad in some ways. I've been toying all week about putting the amount that I've got Part X for the Himalayan in cash and keeping it. That would mean us having 3 bikes, and to be honest, apart from taking the Himalayan down for the assessment for the part exchange price, I can't honestly remember the last time I went out on it, or we went out on it 2 up. It's something we've not been doing because the other bike's far more comfortable, the big Suzuki, for doing that. The V-Strom, for going on a journey, especially with the luggage and the back box, takes 2 helmets. So yeah, bit of sweet journey. So I'm going to go down here, 20 minutes to the local town, down through the mountains. Once I get to the local town, I'll get on the motorway and be 35-40 minutes on the motorway into Motorway city, and I'll continue this as I'm getting near the dealership. So I won't film the motorway section, but I'll film coming up to the dealership, and when I get there obviously I'll do some filming of the new bike and give you my thoughts as I ride gently home at braking speed. So hang around and stay tuned guys, and catch the rest of the video. So guys, I'm on the Autovia, the A30 towards Motorway. We've got 29 kilometres to go. I'm not sure if the mic's picking up what I'm saying in this helmet. I've got the mic positioned in a funny position, so hopefully it'll pick up what I'm doing. Now this for me is the problem with the Himalayan. I'm coming up to 120 section now, and I've got it opened up, and it's on the clock. We're doing 120. We're passing vehicles in the right hand lane, they're going a bit slower. Bit of a headwind today, so I'm riding in a headwind with the 2 panniers on the back. I'm getting a fair bit of weaving with the panniers and the setup on the Himalayan. So I'm pretty much full throttle now at 120, which is around 75 mile an hour. Quite a bit of wind resistance with the low screen. And certainly I wouldn't want to be doing this 2 up with my wife on the back. So that is one of the main reasons that we ended up getting the V-Strom. Certainly with my wife wanting to go pillion on a bike after a long time, I've not really wanted to come out with me. That swayed the decision to move away from the Himalayan and go to something that's going to be more capable for us to go 2 up adventure riding. Like I said before, still very, very sad, but when I get out of the mountains and onto the main highways, the limitations of the Himalayan become quite apparent. 120 120 at the moment, quite vibey, quite buzzy. Yeah, so there we are, guys. Anyway, another 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I'll be at the Royal Enfield dealership, and I'll do a bit more filming there. So guys, I'm on the outskirts of Morthia, only about 10 minutes away from the main dealership. To be honest, around town and scooting around these ring roads around Morthia City, it's a great little commuter bike as well. It's surprising. The only caveat is when you get it on the motorway and you open it up and you've got it pegged open at 120, bit vibey and not all together. Although you don't go any quicker on any other bike, it's just the fact you know you've got it pinned, and if you needed a quick burst of acceleration you wouldn't have it. But yeah, it's capable. I mean, it's usable for everything really. You can use it. I mean, if you're one of these guys that it's all the A roads and you like going camping and on an adventure bike, on something like this, it's perfect to get up in the forest trails. It's not intimidating on any off-road trails. It's not quite got the travel on the suspension that a true dual sport's got, but I've taken this bike on many a forest trail, and even when we've been away touring on this, we've had a few short scoots away, 2-3 hours away from the house. A few years ago we went to a place with a waterfall and a ravine and everything, and we were able to ride directly to it on this bike. I think on the V-Strom, because again it's not a dual sport as such. On the V-Strom I certainly wouldn't take it down the trails I took this down, so a lot of positives and a lot of reasons to be sad dobbing it in, but I'm getting quite excited as I get nearer the dealership, and a bit intimidated from some of the write-ups I've read about the rear suspension. So that'll be one thing I'll be looking at, especially with the rough roads around where I live up in the mountains. I've just got my fingers crossed that it's not as bad as people have made out in the videos previously, and we'll see how we go with that one. We'll try and address it if it is bad, and see if we can do something with it. So guys, yeah, nearly there. We can see, guys, all the crates outside. There's a couple of crates there, new Himalayan bikes ready to be uncrated and set up. And they tell me here in Spain that as fast as they get these Super Meteors in, they're actually going out, and there is a bit of a waiting list here now. I believe there's a waiting list everywhere. UK, most European countries, there's a waiting list now. So I'm quite fortunate to get my hands on the Interstellar Green. Anyway, we'll carry this video on in a second, and I'll just pan back and you can see the old girl there. Like I say, very, very sad. And you can see this is the dealership, Royal Enfield Morthia. Cracking showroom inside with Royal Enfields in, and I'll show you around the showroom in a minute. So that's Royal Enfield Morthia. You can see it behind me there. I'm going to go into the showroom in a minute and find the guy I've been dealing with and doing the deal on the bike. There's the Royal Enfield behind me. The Himalayan sadly going in and being replaced, but yeah, sad day and a happy day all in one, so I'm quite excited really. Very warm on the bike. I'm sweating cobs. You can see I've been sweating and leaking a bit with all the gear on, but yeah, nice to get the jacket off, and I'll get inside and film a bit more. Take a look inside. So you can see that the Royal Enfield displays and dealership have come on a hell of a long way since their inception a few years back when they started to sell a lot of bikes. A lot of apparel, a lot of gear, a lot of extras for the bikes. You can see the standard Meteor there. Interceptor. Royal Enfield Classic. 350 Classic, I think. And you can see a few that have been sold here. There's another Super Meteor. And a great place to come and have a mooch around. It's not just Royal Enfield, they do Indian as well here, so they've got quite a few different types of bikes. They sell second-hand bikes, and they also sell Indians and Royal Enfield. You can see one on the wall there, it's totally dismantling in bits. There's a lot of apparel and bags and all sorts. Small bar there, Royal Enfield bar. Royal aftermarket cans and tanks. Yeah, so lots of apparel, Royal Enfield gloves. So all in all, yeah, great dealership. Very sign up there, made like a gun, a seating area. So they really put in a lot of effort into it, almost like the Harley Davidson areas used to be when you used to go in the Harley Davidson garages. Right, I'll pop through and see if my guy's here. So guys, first view of the bike. So here we go, guys. We've picked up the bike, sorted all the paperwork out, and off we go. So first impressions. Well, in normal road driving, I'm pleased to say that the bike's very comfortable at the moment. I've not gone over any bumps, but I'm going to go over this grid in front just to check. It's a little bit hard on the back end, but nothing that would really bother me. Super smooth on the gear change. Engine seems nice and smooth. Forward set pegs are going to take a bit of getting used to again. Having said that, I've ridden Intruder for many years, so I shouldn't have a problem with it. Nice wide tank on it. It's got a full tank of juice, which is surprising. I expected it to be empty. The instrument panels are pretty easy to read. It's got miles and kilometers. Very easy to get your feet on the ground. Very low down. The middle display with the gear indicator and the kilometers, etc., is a bit on the small side, but it's readable. Strangely enough, on the UK forums and European forums, I'm sure the handbook tells you 500 kilometres for the first service or 350 mile. I've just been told it's 750 kilometres for the first service from the dealership there, and then 7,500 kilometres thereafter. Super smooth engine, really smooth. Just taking it steady on the brakes a little bit. They're probably going to take a few kilometres to bed in, but they are quite progressive and they feel quite okay. Not in any way spongy or soft. The rear brake's amazing. The rear brake really pulls you up quick. Mirrors standard seem okay, plenty of visibility. You can see clearly out of both sides over my shoulders, no blocking of view or behind you. Although I do fancy putting a couple of bar end mirrors on it. That feels great off the get-go to ride. I mean, I suppose it's going to feel different jumping straight off the Himalayan onto this, from a 400cc straight to a 650. But yeah, really nice. Now the only thing is which way I go home. They do say on the running you shouldn't take it in 6 gear over 90. and bearing in mind the motorway traffic's bobbing along at 120, I think I'll just scoot along at 90 in top gear and just stay in the slow lane and just take it steady, see how we go. I like the hand grips are really nice, especially with leather gloves. They're really grippy, feel nice and thick. A lot of the Royal Enfield grips tend to be a bit thin on the thin side. I know the Enfield and a couple of other bikes I've rode, the grips feel, wow, it goes really nice around the roundabout. Comfort wise, the seat is really comfortable. It's got a nice back piece to it behind you sit into. It's got a nice spread on the seat. It's not too flat like the Intruder was. Fairly flat big seat like a bench seat. It's got a nice overall shape to it. Missed a gear there. Used to the gearbox yet. Although the foot pegs are very forward orientated, they're nowhere near as forward as on a big cruiser like the 1500 VL that I've recently sold. They're not bad at all. They're quite comfortable position. Not too bad. I suppose really I've seen people put mid-mounted pegs on this, and you could ride this more or less like a classic bike with mid pegs on it. It would ride pretty good in the middle position, almost like the Meteor 350 if you like. I can see why people are putting a mid-mounted peg on it just to put the feet on, although I don't know how safe that is because you're not actually near your gears or your rear brake. I think for main tarmac riding, I think the back suspension is plenty comfortable enough, to be honest. You can feel some of the undulations in the road, and I've heard a few people say that when they've put sort of mid-mounted rests on, it takes the weight off your backside because you're leaning back into the seat, and that negates the problem somewhat, but I don't know. I think the stance when you sit on it is very comfortable for me anyway. So I'm 5'10", inside leg about 31. Very strange putting your feet up on this type of bike because it doesn't feel like a cruiser when you're on it. Feels more like a Harley Sportster type stance, although a bit more comfortable than the Sportster, I would say. I know a lot of people have mentioned no rev counter, so i.e. during running, you know, it's gonna, they don't really know how much strain they're putting on the engine in each gear, but I'm not having any problem short shifting at the moment. It's short shifting pretty well. Open the visor, you might get a bit of wind noise with the visor open, but I've got the dark visor down and the main visor open. Have we got a temperature control on here? I don't think we have. On the Himalayan there's an outside temperature. All I can see on the moment, there's a clock on here and a gear indicator and the trip. Wow, super smooth. I remember maybe 2 years ago riding the Interceptor and not being overly impressed with it. I thought it was a bit, it looked great, it looked a beautiful classic bike or classic retro style bike. It just felt a bit skinny and a bit not high build quality if you like, but this is super build quality looking around it. I like the finish on the frame and the engine side mountings, almost like the old finish you used to get on something that was made to last a long time, like safes. Old safes have this crinkly paint finish on them. very durable and wouldn't chip or mark easy, so the frame somewhat reminds me of that, sort of very durable powder coating on the frame, as opposed to the painting and rough welds that you normally see on a Royal Enfield. Looking at the welds on this, I'm assuming most of them machine welded. Yeah, well, so far I'm liking it. It's definitely given me the feeling that I used to have on my 500 Classic, of a very sort of laid back, relaxed but capable bike, where the 500 Classic was very laid back and relaxed. It was similar to the Himalayan, if you like. When I used to ride it around the Campo and the mountains where we live, it was great on mountain roads, but as soon as you got it out and somewhere on the motorway, it just felt a bit strained. Although I'm not going to be going mad going home on this, but it just feels like you don't really want to rush, and the engine doesn't feel strained at all. I'm going to try and keep it to 80-90 kph on the way back, so at least we've got a few hundred kilometres on it. The back end is bouncing a little bit over the slight undulations, even though we're on a main highway. I can feel you can probably hear it in my voice as well if the mic's picking it up the way, getting some undulations along the way. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing some more comprehensive videos on it. I mean, I've had a hard day in work. I finished a bit early to get out and get this. Currently now we're looking at 6 p.m, which isn't really late, but when you've worked all day and you've got another hour's ride back home, it's a little bit on the late side. Yeah, so I don't know whether the microphone where I've got it can pick any of the exhaust notes up, but it's got a nice exhaust sound to it. Just keeping it at 90 kph, where they recommend not to go over 85, 90, keeping it steady at that at the moment, and it should be okay, I would think. A lot of people have mentioned that the engine kicks a bit of heat out, or it does get very hot. I can actually feel a bit of engine heat off it. I mean, it's going to maybe run a bit warmer while it's running in. Well guys, that was fun down the motorway, trying to keep it to 90 kph. Trucks passing me on the other side, and to be honest the bike just wants to go, but I'm mindful that it should really be running properly. Oh, it's super corners, super nice guys. Don't know if you guys are catching any of the burble on the exhaust at all. I'm in 5th gear now, I'm only chuggling along, but it's a beautiful burble. You probably get more wind noise than exhaust, but when I get a chance at the weekend to get out and properly, I'll get a microphone down there and we'll look at the how it sounds on the back end and the noise, but it certainly sounds great. Loads of low down torque as well. I mean, I'm in 6th gear at the moment, doing 70 kph, which is what, about 50 mile an hour I suppose. And it's just bobbling along, no problem. And there's pickup on the accelerator. As soon as you twist the grip, it's there straight away. couple of things I've noticed straight away, especially now the rear brake needs lifting for me. I'm having to put my foot far too far forward to get on the rear brake. Gear shifter seems to be okay on the other side. So the rear suspension's more noticeable at lower speeds. You can definitely feel it when you're going slower. When you're going quicker, it's very smooth. The slipper clutch is really, really nice. Gear change is nice and smooth. The reach to the brake lever and the clutch lever out of the box are okay for me. I might bring them back one click. They're okay, they're usable. You know, I wouldn't have a problem if they weren't adjustable. They'd be fine as they were. Loads of torque. I mean, in fifth gear, tootling, then you really don't need to change down if you don't want to. And the torque curve is very, very linear. I mean, I'm in fourth gear now, tootling through town, and the pickup is there instant as soon as you turn the throttle. So the low down torque's great. The rake on the front end doesn't feel overly raked out. When you drop it into a corner, it feels fine. It drops in fairly easy. Not as easy as a sports bike. You need to turn it in, but no problem at all. It's not unnerving. It's not long on the rake like the 1500 Suzuki was. That was a pig to turn, and you had to have the right amount of air in the front tyre to make it turn in easy. If you got a bit of low pressure in the front tyre, it didn't want to turn in. It just wanted to go in a straight line. This turns in very, very nicely. It's a very, very fun motorbike to ride. It just put a grin on your face. And to be honest, it is ticking the boxes that I wanted it to tick. I really did like the 500 Classic I had a few years ago. And the only thing with that was obviously getting on more open roads where you need a bit of speed. But I think this is superb at what it's got. I mean, 650cc, although it's only 47 brake horsepower, is sufficient for this bike. It's plenty. You're going to do motorway speeds all day. It tops out at over 100 mile an hour anyway, so unless you're, you know, a real get your knee down scratching racer that just wants the thrill of racing around, it's going to be a great bike for many, many people. It'll be interesting to see if they do a classic 650. I know there's talk of the classic 650 coming out, and there's lots of stuff on YouTube where people are doing mock-ups of the 650 classic, although nothing is concrete at the moment. I think with the mid-mounted pegs, if they use the same chassis as this, I think it'll be superb. But I mean, even this, I'm sure there's going to be people very quickly coming out with kits or mods to take the forward controls back to mid-mounting on this, and you're pretty much going to have the feel of an old style British bike of the 50s. Definitely the 50s Super Meteor and the Meteor from the 50s with its mid-mounted pegs and its low slung body height. I think you're going to get the same feel as that on this if you have mid-mounted pegs. It's I wouldn't, although the orientation of the bike with the type of seat it's got, the low slung seat and the forward pegs, put it into the cruiser category. I wouldn't put it there, to be honest. I'd put it into a Sportster category. I wouldn't put it in as an out-and-out cruiser. It's definitely not. It's not raked out enough to be a cruiser for me. It's more like a traditional bike. There's only a slight rake on the front end. It turns in really well into the bends. You can drop it in fine. Nothing like my VL that I sold. Totally different sort of ride. There's going to be a lot of people modding this bike. I can see it. There's got a lot of custom builders are going to be doing stuff with this. Just this chassis, the way it sits, the nice design of the tank, the huge big tank on it. It just lends itself to doing all sorts with it, and you can see a lot of people putting their own mark on it. It in no way feels like you're riding a bike that's 240 kilo. It just doesn't feel any weight at all. Now we're going to find out what this rear suspension's like. This first bit of road we're riding up at the moment is fairly smooth. It is bumpy in places, but I think it's one of the more recently tarmac roads in the up into the mountains where I live. Although it's old now, but it's smoother than the next road we're going to go on. So a bit of a test now how the suspension handles this. Yep, a bit hard over them bumps there. Well, that's quite a good test. I've just gone up a really steep incline in fifth, and it didn't lose power at all. And in fact, as I got halfway up, I opened the throttle and it started to increase speed up the incline even in fifth. So excellent low down torque. It's crazy, I keep shutting the visor so you guys can hear what I'm saying, but then I want to hear the noise of the exhaust. It's beautiful low throttly sound. I'm guessing with the aftermarket cans on this it's going to sound superb. Now comes the test, guys. This is like going over cobbles. Nice burble when you throttle back, even though we've not done an airbox modification on this in any way. A lot of the guys put in K&N filter kits on these. I think they're about €90 here in Spain. Oh, you can hear my voice rattling now over these bumps. Yeah, K&N filter kit is supposed to allow it to breathe a lot better, get more air into the engine, and give a bit better performance, or a bit of smoother performance, I should say, that people have been saying. Strange thing is now a lot of people are just saying you just remove the snorkel on the air filter and you get the same effect. Although the K&M filter is a washable, reusable filter, the stock filters are replaceable filters, so Just depends whether you want a lifetime filter or you want to keep swapping it in and out, I don't know. But if you're going to get the same effect by just taking the snorkel off, I guess a lot of people are going to try that first and see how it feels, and if they like it, maybe pull the trigger and buy a K&M filter. I don't know, we'll have to see on that one. I don't know how many of you guys have fitted them as you're running them in, or you've run the bike in first and then fitted them later, or done an airbox modification straight away. Perhaps you can let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, I'm probably going to have to chop and shorten this video in places. The overall trip, although I've not been filming for that time, it's taken me about 3 hours altogether, due to the fact that it's taken me ages in the main dealership. You know, the usual thing about Spain, mañana, nobody rushes, and it's so laid back, it's untrue, you know. But yeah, it's a beautiful evening at the moment. I reckon the temperature's probably dropped down to about 28 now. It's a bit more comfortable. Certainly hot by UK standards, but quite bearable now. Dare I scoot past this guy in front? You know, why not? Again, quite mindful that I don't want to over-rev it in any gear. I'm trying to be fairly gentle with it and short shift. That said, the bike wants to go. You can feel it's getting ready to go. Well guys, if you've stuck this far and watched it all the way through, thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up, give me a like and subscribe, and I'm going to get a few more videos out on the Royal Enfield Super Meteor real soon. Take care, ride safe.